Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, and today I'm back here with another My Team career mode video, and in today's video it will be the Hungarian qualifying before of course the Grand Prix in the next video. It has been a little while since my last F1 2021 video. Of course the last one was the British Grand Prix in My Team career mode, and we're going to talk to you guys about that in a second. But it certainly should be an interesting one at Hungary. Quali is going to be pivotal. The race is going to be pivotal because you have that split strategy if it's dry, because you're going to have the two-stop versus the one-stop, and if those guys on the two-stop, some of them take grid penalties and some of them on the one-stopper don't, then they're going to get elevated further up the order. It is really going to make for a very interesting Hungarian Grand Prix. And of course, before that, in today's video, the qualifying session. But before we can do all that, we will have a little look at what happened last time out to refresh ourselves. If you guys haven't watched the British Grand Prix in Season 2, you might want to click off the video and watch that now. But we're going to head over there to standings. And as I'm sure you can see, a DNF last time out, our first mechanical failure of the career mode. We had a DNF in Season 1, that was at Kota, which is no longer on the calendar, but we had a DNF there in Season 1. And that was due to terminal damage. But today, sit here before Hungarian qualifying, and we may be worrying a little bit about reliability after last time out. First mechanical failure we have had, of course, in the career mode. First one this season, of course, because first one we've had in the career mode. But it's a shame that it was the British Grand Prix, my home race. I was hoping for something really decent there, but it's also, out of the races so far, the best place to have had the mechanical failure. We've fallen lucky with that because we were P11 and looking like that was probably where we'd stay, if not drop behind Alonso to P12. So really, we weren't going to take points, and if we were maybe a lucky point or two, that wasn't going to make much of a difference. The difference was made with the 4 consecutive wins at the start of the season and then a P4 at the Austrian Grand Prix. Those were the pivotal results that have got us that 114 points. But of course, last time with having that mechanical failure, Checo Perez, our rival, should surely be seeing that, getting it right. Mechanical failure for us. He's got to get out there. He's got to put a great result in, and he only managed P4, which was a little bit disappointing for Checo. Still yet to win a race, and that isn't helping him. That P4 could really be quite costly, to be honest there. He scored in every race so far and has been in 6th at worst, but he just hasn't managed to top the podium, and he needed a podium last time out really to close in on us. You know, we have 114 points, he has 86, and pretty much want to be within 5 points or 5 points ahead, around that area, around that window for the final 2 races of the season. And he's only got Hungary and Belgium now because he really needs to catch that gap up. And the reason why I'm saying that is because he should be quicker, along with his teammate and both Mercedes, at Hungary and at Belgium. We should have the advantage at Mexico, and then I have no clue really what it's going to be like at Saudi Arabia. So that'll be an interesting one. But Perez needed to really capitalise on that. But P4, it's okay. It does, however, mean he only has 86 points on the board. It is allowing his teammate Max Verstappen to try and catch up. Max now sits just 11 points behind his teammate. That is not much at all. Could be easily gained back, and he's launching himself back into this title fight. A couple of great results for either him or Valtteri Bottas, who won last time out. That's going to put them in contention heading into Mexico and Saudi Arabia, because of course Verstappen with a solid P2 and Bottas with the win. Those two had a great time last time out, and they on great form. You know, the P1 and then P2 for Verstappen in the last couple of races. The opposite for Bottas, of course, P2 and P1. Those two being 1 point between them. They are charging at Checo, but also ourselves, and they could really get into the mix. Be interesting to see if they can continue that form, of course, at Hungary and Belgium, but they're looking in a great position. Meanwhile, Hamilton has had a bit of a disappointing start to the season. He is leading the amount of fastest laps. He's got 3. But other than that, there ain't much going for him. 1 podium, and that was last time out. Pretty decent result for Hamilton there. Managed to get ahead of Gasly, of course, towards the end of that one. Got him on the podium, and that's 50 points for him. You do feel, though, he is a little bit out the equation at this point. Of course, that's Season 1 standings, if you guys don't remember that. Season 1 only managed P3 with one win. If we look at Season 2, he's not on a great trajectory either. And being 24 points behind his teammate, ultimately 64 behind us. Hamilton looking pretty much out the equation. So it is ourselves, Perez, Verstappen and Bottas for the title, really. Then, another outstanding performer last time, Pierre Gasly, P5, a stunner of a performance for him. He managed to get ahead of Hamilton off the start, so he's already ahead of Hamilton and Perez off the start last time out. Couldn't keep those positions, but finished a great respectable P5, followed by a Charles Leclerc, looking the best out the Ferrari and the McLarens. We saw that last season. Then, Lando Norris finished P7 at his home Grand Prix. Not a miracle result, but certainly a decent one after pretty dismal start to the season for him. Hasn't finished higher than P7 yet. Daniel Ricciardo finished P8, taking some points for him with Sainz P9 and my teammate Yuki P10. Real great confidence boost for him to get some more points on the board. Exactly what we wanted, but Ferrari McLaren drivers still not looking too great in the order. You can see Lance Stroll there. He's still up there. Vettel's still up there. Alonso's still up there. Those guys probably won't stay there, but you never know. With Hungary, Mexico, you can go for the two-stoppers for the top 10 usually, and the one-stopper for everyone else. So there's a good chance. There is a good chance that they could potentially finish ahead of some of the McLaren or Ferrari drivers or Pierre Gasly. That's possible, but it's just going to depend on how the season plays out, because the gap from Vettel all the way down to Tsunoda is only 10 points, so that gap's nothing now. Just a bit of a poor start for Lando Norris, though, this season, I have to say. A little bit off the pace there in terms of the amount of points. He's at the bottom of the point scorers, but he should be able to launch a bit of a comeback. As I'm sure you can see overall, the midfield fight looking very close. Lots of drives in that. And then, of course, a real great title fight forming. In terms of constructors, Red Bull looking pretty solid for the win at the moment. We're not going to be able to take that, but they do lead ourselves pretty comfortably. We're looking good for P3. We might be ahead of Mercedes now, however. I don't think that will stick until the end of the season. Mercedes, though, looking quite a way back off Red Bull, struggling a little bit at times in the R&D, so looks like they might be having to settle for P2 this season. Ferrari, the best of the rest, then AlphaTauri ahead of McLaren by 10 points. Of course, McLaren struggling so far this season, so probably regain P5, but taking a little bit of work for them. Aston Martin, P7. They're still looking a decent position. They're fighting a bit with Alpine at the moment. Only 4 points between those. Expect those two to fight a little bit on track for that position in the constructors. Of course, for P7, Aston Martin with a better car, but maybe Alpine with higher performing drivers at the moment. And then Williams, Alfa Romeo and Haas still yet to score. So a title fight forming and plenty of action in the order. It really is all to play for. Last time out it was the MG UK that went, so no real problems with that happening. What do we need new? 59% on that. We're going to take a new ICE because we have 4 races left in the calendar. So we can just do 2-2. That'll be fine, providing there's no mechanicals. We'll have to take a new MG UK. MG UH is actually looking alright at the moment, but I am tempted to swap it out. I don't know if that's necessary, really, though. It's only 49% wear, so MG UH, I think we'll keep that in. Energy store's fine. Turbocharger starting to get a little bit warm there. I think we'll fit a new turbocharger. And then the CE. Right, so CE-wise, that's 56%. Bit of a risk to use that one. That's dead. That's dead. So 25% on this one. We're going to have to take grid penalties. We are going to take a grid penalty here at Hungary. And then we're going to switch back to that CE. The reason why I'm doing that, I don't want to take a grid penalty to make score Jeddah. We want the title fight then. That's the plan. So we are going to take the grid penalty, but we're going to switch back to that. That's the plan. It's only 5 places. Quali's still going to be important because there's going to be a lot of people taking a lot more upgrade penalties. 6 out of 6 races completed with that. Does that mean we can get a new one? Think so. I swear we've done 6. It's fine anyway. I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, R&D, plenty of stuff to do with that. We've got a powertrain department. A recent breakthrough from the powertrain department has resulted in the team finishing ahead of schedule. We could get the team to do some more extra R&D or use time schedule some promotional content. No, I want the R&D.
You handled that well.
We've got big upgrades to get going, and we do actually need to renew a sponsor too. We're going to do that. We're going to keep Highland on the car for a little bit longer, along with Shark, Slingshot, Fuel, and of course DSB, our primary sponsor. Plenty of R&D to throw around a bit. We're getting a lovely brake upgrade coming in, and I wouldn't mind a nice upgrade potentially in the engine department. Do we rush it or do we go standard? I think we're going to rush it. I want it in for Belgium. Playing a little bit risky on that. And then I do feel as if we do need to maybe just put in an R&D upgrade into the electrical systems. Just because we do need to keep the durability ticking over so we don't drop off a
major issue
cliff.
On the production line earlier this week. So the entire development package for this weekend has failed.
This is bad.
Any redevelopments will need to be ordered from the
Oh no, we were going to have an ultimate brake upgrade. That was going to be pivotal for us this weekend. However, we might not even be able to get that in.
We had a major issue on the production line earlier.
Yes, we know.
So the entire
we might not even be able to get that in for Belgium.
Any redevelopments
That's a real problem. However, our facilities are relatively functional currently. One thing we could consider is improving facilities, include more recreational areas and activities, make it home away from home, encourage staff to spend more time here and make it feel more rewarding when they do. A remodel may be expensive, but it could significantly improve.
Thanks.
You know, we're going to go with it.
I appreciate you taking the time to help.
I don't want any more chassis failures. Well, not many of them at least. Now, can we reschedule that? Ah, not enough. I don't know if we're going to be able to get that in then for the Belgian Grand Prix. That's a problem. Please don't fail. Please don't fail. Please don't fail. 3. Yep, that's done. There we go. That's good. That is good. And oh, look at that. That's thrown us right to Red Bull and Mercedes. That's pivotal there. We are just a teeny bit behind those two. Then it's Ferrari, McLaren, Alfa Tauri, Aston Martin, Alpine, Alfa Romeo, Haas and Williams. But we've launched ourselves away from the midfield, and it's certainly an upward trajectory. We do have an engine power upgrade coming in for Spa, hopefully. Electrical system upgrade, that'll be coming in. That's what it looked like before, but it's going to be very, very interesting for ourselves. And it's going to constantly keep ticking over, because if we can get this upgrade now will not be in for Belgium. So it won't be in for Spa, but we will have it in for Mexico. So we'll be able to get a bit more R&D, get that in for Mexico, and that's really going to help us. We are top of the chassis, but there you go. Really, really good news there, I have to say. We didn't get any R&D from having the mechanical failure last time. I have to say, though, it is a shame with the brakes, but, you know, we've got some other upgrades in. We're looking really, really strong. Still got the worry in the durability department. We are quite a way behind, but it's okay. It's okay. We're all right. We should be okay. Hopefully. I'm keeping my fingers crossed on that one. We shouldn't start going into a bit of reliability issues, but we are going really strong. And, oh, that upgrade's opened up some more opportunities. Have to say, look at that, a major front downforce. In terms of where we are in the aero, we've absolutely launched ourselves up there. We're now P3 ahead of AlphaTauri, Ferrari and McLaren. So we've really improved in the aero. In the chassis, we've got the best chassis. In the powertrain, we are a bit midfield, but we are going to be getting an upgrade, and that's going to launch us towards the top. So, as I'm sure you can see, we're looking a really great team at the moment. We're going to have a look at the R&D graph in a minute so we can see how close we actually are to Red Bull and Mercedes and how much progress we've made. But we've renewed our sponsor, had a little refresh of what happened last time out. We've sorted out the engine components. We've sorted out the R&D. We're not going to do any upgrades, starting to save up maybe a bit for next season, contract renewals and so on. That's the plan. So that is everything to do pre-race. Before we do get into qualifying Hungary, if you guys haven't already, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. But what we are going to do is we're going to go and have a look at the R&D graph before we begin quali. Of course, that'll be Q1. Really fantastic for our team. In the R&D graph, you can see there, it is Red Bull and Mercedes. Nothing between them once again. Extremely close at the top, but there is a gap down to us, but it is pretty small. It really, really is compared to what it was at the British Grand Prix. So we are right up there in the mix, and you can see Ferrari and McLaren. There's quite a big gap back to Ferrari now, so we're comfortably ahead of those guys, and we are officially, as a team and as a car, at the top. You put some of the world's best drivers in that car, might be a little bit off with the performance, a teeny bit, a couple of tenths, still can win world championships. So we are up there now. We've gone from 6th at the start of the season in the R&D to a very comfortable 3rd, bordering being able to fight the top 2. But it is Ferrari quite a bit behind. They do have a lead over McLaren in terms of the car. It's not a massive one, but it is quite big there. It's quite big. So Ferrari should have that advantage. They'll be looking to capitalise on that. Then AlphaTauri versus Aston Martin, looking extremely close. One difference, Alpine have just thrown themselves into that. So that is 3 different teams, pretty much with the same car performance. Alfa Romeo haven't managed to go with Alpine and are just a little bit off those guys, but still comfortably ahead of Haas and Williams, 2 teams that have been constantly struggling. And for this weekend, it is Haas, a nice little bit ahead of Williams. So Haas going really, really steadily this season. You've got to like to see it. And I mean, they had some great amount of upgrades coming in for Spain and coming in for France. They've started to slow down a little bit, I have to say. But they're doing a bit better than Williams. They're winning their fight at the bottom in terms of the car performance. Hopefully, maybe we'll get some reg changes this season for next season, and that might spice up the order a little bit. We might see Haas, Williams, Alfa Romeo maybe getting a bit further towards the top. But of course, a little bit of a roundup of what we have here. It is Red Bull and Mercedes pretty equal at the top. We're just behind now, so the car's close enough. It's going to come down to driver performance. Then quite a chunk back to the midfield. Ferrari comfortably lead McLaren, who pretty comfortably lead AlphaTauri, Aston Martin and Alpine, all close together. That'll come down to the drivers. Then it's a decent gap back to Alfa Romeo. Not huge, but it is a decent gap back. So Alfa Romeo are going to struggle to compete in the midfield. They're going to be a bit further back, but have a very comfortable lead over Haas, who are looking a bit stronger than Williams. But it's certainly looking interesting. It really is going to be a very interesting weekend, and it could be a pivotal one at Hungary. We've got a fantastic car, the best one we've had so far this season compared to our opponents, but it's at a track where I'm a little bit weaker than the previous 6. So it's going to be a very interesting race weekend. We do currently have a rivalry against Checo Perez, but we are losing by 4. 3 races remaining. I can't really see us winning that one. I wouldn't really be surprised, but if we don't win that one, it's pretty fine. It's about the championship, not about the rivalry, but nice to have a bit of a rivalry against Checo Perez there. In terms of the weather, though, it is going to be wet during the race. Quali, dry and sunny. Gotta like that. The race, however, will be wet. And unfortunately, it's going to be really, really quite wet. And the reason why I'm saying unfortunately is generally because the wet could potentially play into our hands. It's quite unlikely, though, because we won't be qualifying in the top 10, I don't think. It's quite unlikely, I feel. I feel like we might just be a little bit outside it. If we do qualify outside the top 10, then you can go for the one-stop strategy. In the top 10, you have to go for the two-stopper. It depends on our pace. But, you know, we would have been able to maybe qualify just outside the top 10, go for the one-stopper, get some decent points. That's not happening. It's wet at Hungary. It's going to be slippery at an already slippery track. It will dry up towards the end. Whether it will be dry enough for slicks, we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully it will be dry enough for slicks, because that might spice it up a little bit towards the end. But it could play into our hands, however, if Checo Max or Valtteri, maybe those guys do end up stacking a load of grid penalties. No, they can't stack them, AI technically, but they can by taking loads when they need to. If they need to take, let's say, 4 grid penalties, they might take 4 grid penalties. And that drops them 20 places. That could put him right at the back of the grid. We've just dropped 5, and because other people have dropped places, we could be in the top 5 on the grid, and because you can't really overtake in the wet conditions, we could get points over them. So it could still be a good conditions, potentially for us, but it will be treacherous in the race. Thankfully, though, it's going to be nice in quali, so we're going to get into some qualifying action. Beautiful clear skies here at the Hungaroring for Q1. The sun is shining. It's going to stay that way for a little while in the first part of quali. Does seem it might cloud over a little bit, but we'll still have the lovely sun shining down on us. And first man out on track is Colonel Sainz there in his Ferrari. It could be a difficult Q1 for us. It really could. It's not our strongest of tracks, so we're certainly going to have to fight a bit in Q1. Gasly heading out to join Carlos. We are going to join them on our first set of softs here. Well, if you guys have been, of course, watching... Oh, it's Carlos Sainz goes cookies. 1 at 15.8. Really lovely out there. But if you guys have been watching some of my team videos on my channel, you may or may not have watched the Hungarian GP qualifying last season. Of course, that was quite an interesting qualifying session for us, I have to say. And we ended up going out in Q1, which was a bit of a disappointment there for us, actually. I was a bit frustrated with that, but at the same time, I did know the pace. The pace wasn't there. I think we should certainly be safe to get through to Q2. However, I don't know if one set of tyres and a couple of runs at the start is going to be enough. We might have to go out again later in the session with everyone improving. So I would love if we could just use one set of tyres in Q1 to save them for Q2, as we have gone purple in the first sector. Absolutely love the first sector around here. Once you start to hook it up, it does feel really nice, you know, really nice first sector. Generally, I like it because we go well in the first sector. Not as well in the second sector at the moment, but well for me in a sense, you know. I'm not fantastic around this track, so that's a pretty decent middle sector there to put in as we head on to the final bit, but hopefully we can put in something very, very decent here in Q1, and then we don't have to go out again and use another set that could be used to optimise our position in Q2, because the grid will be probably shaken around by grid penalties, but quali still pivotal. We cross the line, P4. That is a stunner of a lap for me at Hungary. Wasn't expecting that, didn't think we had that sort of a pace. That's generally where the car should be, so I'm really happy with that lap. Wow, we're going to return to the pits. I didn't think that would be enough, but at a track where I struggle, that's fantastic. Charles Leclerc, 1 minute 15.5. He's ahead of both Bottas and Perez. We're going to return to the pits. It is looking very busy out on track at the moment. Ricciardo, Hamilton, Ocon, Tsunoda, Verstappen, Schwartzman, Stroll, Latifi, Mazepin, Giovinazzi and Mick Schumacher are all out there. That's 11 out of the 20. And as you can see, we currently sit P6. A fantastic lap there. That's enough to get us through. Not everyone has put in their laps, but they're slowly filtering through. Only Max Verstappen there, you would probably think, could trouble the top 6, judged on form. But Lewis Hamilton, currently quickest, 1 minute 15.382. Great lap from him. He needs to start catching up in the championship, so he needs some great results, and this is potentially the start of that. But then again, it's only Q1, but I have to say the Ferrari's looking great. Leclerc just behind in much slower machinery, outperforming it once again. Sainz outperforming his Ferrari, equally so, 4/10 off his teammate, but P3, a fantastic lap there. Then you've got Valtteri Bottas, P4, 6.2 off his teammate. That's disappointing. That really is quite disappointing for Valtteri. That's got to be frustrating. He's off his teammate, but pivotally for him, he's ahead of Verstappen and Perez. That's what he needs, really. He needs to be ahead of Verstappen and Perez. That's where he's in the championship, and Verstappen just ahead of Perez. Those three extremely close. I think we get to see their best. Then you can see our lovely first sector there, quickest of all by think 2/10 quicker than Hamilton there. Have to say, Leclerc's first sector was blisteringly quick, but P7, that's safe. We don't need to guard again. 7/10 off Lewis Hamilton. A really great lap. I'm really happy with that, considering where we are really in terms of pace this weekend. So really solid. 1 minute 16.1. Gasly P8 and Stroll at P9. So a really great start to quali for Lance Stroll, only just behind his teammate. Got to be happy with that. Fantastic work from Lance. So often been a long way behind his teammate Pierre, but today really, really great work from him. Teammate Yuki is safely through pretty much there in P10. 1 minute 16.3, a couple of tenths off us, so not too bad. They're pretty close to the AlphaTauris, and that's quite important. Fernando Alonso, P11 again, going well in his Alpine. He's just behind my teammate, but Daniel Ricciardo really struggling, and Lando Norris, P12 and P13 for the McLarens. The McLarens are really starting to struggle this season. They're quite in the mud, I have to say, in the constructors for a great result, and in the drivers, especially for Lando. P12 and P13, they're in a bit of a dangerous position, especially Norris. 3/10 behind his teammate. 1 minute 16.8. Wow, those two are really struggling. They're going to have to guard again and improve if they want to be safe. Ocon, P14, not too bad for him, but Vettel struggling down in P15. The German, not happy with his Aston Martin clearly at the moment. He's got a lot of work to do. Giovinazzi and Raikkonen looking pretty decent. Giovinazzi leads Raikkonen. Giovinazzi currently safe. That can all change, but a 4/10 lead over Raikkonen, that's pretty comfortable. Robert Schwartzman, P18. That's a bit disappointing for him. Quite a bit off his teammate, I have to say, but that's quite a common theme for him. At least he's ahead of Mick Schumacher, and a fantastic Mick Schumacher. It's turning out to be another great looking quali for him. P19 ahead of George Russell even. Mick Schumacher ahead of Mr. Saturday. That's a pretty good result for him. George Russell P20, be looking to maybe jump Schumacher. And then Latifi P21 ahead of Mazepin P22. Latifi not that far off Russell. Mazepin though really off the pace. We are safe in this one, so now we can sit back and pretty much relax for the rest of Q1. Q1 is over then, and I'm having a look at the order at the moment, and we're not in the top 14. There's only 2 places after that to be safe, so there's been a lot of improvements here. Gosh, this is a bit nervous. Gosh, let's have a look down the order. Thank God, P15, we have just scaved through. Any real shocks in that? No, not really. We'll go over the 5 that have been lost in the session, but a lot of drivers going again, and Valtteri Bottas tops the chart ahead of teammate no, not his teammate. His teammate Lewis Hamilton, I don't think went out again, unless I'm mistaken. Sits P6, but it is Bottas ahead of Max Verstappen, his teammate, Checo Perez, a little bit behind. They may be struggling. Bottas and Verstappen were looking really great at Silverstone. Wouldn't be surprised if that continues today, and more good results for those two. That's going to put them into the championship fight, and maybe Perez starting to drop away a little bit. Carlos Sainz looking strong in his Ferrari. He went out again, I do believe, to take P4. Yes, way ahead of his teammate there by a few tenths, I have to say, but Charles did not go out again. Daniel Ricciardo sits P5, did manage to improve. So did his teammate. Pretty pivotal that he did. But still not really up near the top end of things. Struggling a little bit with Daniel Ricciardo P5, Norris P9. They'll be hoping it starts to improve a bit into Q2 and 3. Lewis Hamilton P6 in his Mercedes. Now that's a pretty decent result for him, because he didn't go out again. So P6 with all the improvements that we saw from other drivers. Not too bad. Didn't go out again. Solid work for him. Really great to see Yuki P7 in the top 10. Hopefully that's a sign of some good Q2 and Q3 results to come for him. Charles Leclerc P8 for Ferrari. Didn't have to go again, so great to see him down in P8, not having to go again. Really great work from him. Norris struggling down there in P9, struggling in the championship a little bit, and struggling again here today compared to the cars around him, and similar. Esteban Ocon though went fantastically well there in his Alpine, starting to find some pace in it. Takes P10, a great result for him. His teammate Alonso, 2 places back in P12, and about a tenth too. So Alonso struggling a little bit in his Alpine compared to his teammate. That's a bit of a switch round. Usually Alonso in front. Then Pierre Gasly, P11 for Alpha Tauri. Bit disappointing for him, not really getting into the mix with the McLarens and the Ferraris, but actually the gaps aren't massive there, so I'm sure I'll be able to put in a really good performance when we get to Q2 and 3. Vettel improved. P13 for him, exactly a second off Valtteri Bottas's time. A really decent result there for him because the Aston Martin isn't looking that great this weekend. It's looking a bit of a handful. We've seen that with Schwartzman. So Vettel is through. That's the important thing. He can focus on battling with Alonso in Q2. Lance Stroll makes it through. P14, despite the low focus, getting a decent result in there, only 2 tenths behind his teammate. We didn't guard again. Thought we'd be very, very much safe. We were safe, but not by a lot in the end. P15 gets us through, and we didn't have to use 2 sets of tyres, so big plus there. A little bit of a nerve-wracking moment when you scroll down. Could be out of Q1, that could be a disaster, but no, we are safe. P15. Giovinazzi, P16 is now in his Alfa Romeo, also makes it through. Great drive from him. In front of, and these are the guys who have got knocked out, Kimi Raikkonen, P17. Bit of a shame, but not too bad for him in his Alfa Romeo, only a bit behind his teammate. Robert Schwartzman, P18 for Aston Martin. The car's a lot better than that. It should be ahead of the Alfa Romeos, really. But he's really finding that car a handful to drive, struggling down there in P18, ahead of George Russell. Mr. Saturday managed to get ahead of Mick Schumacher by the end. Not that far off Schwartzman, actually, so a great drive from Russell. Schumacher, on his second lap, clearly couldn't put in a miracle. 2.4 seconds off the best lap time. 4 tenths off Russell. Still though, P20, not a disastrous result. He's ahead of Nicholas Latifi, who only just finished ahead of an improving Nikita Mazepin. But we do lose Kimi Raikkonen, Robert Schwartzman, George Russell, Mick Schumacher, Nicholas Latifi, and Nikita Mazepin in Q1. So both Haas's, both Williams, an Aston Martin and an Alfa Romeo. Giovinazzi just scapes through along with ourselves. It's all looking spicy though for Q2. You really don't know. Throw the form book out the window. The Ferraris though looking pretty decent. Maybe the McLaren struggling a little bit. Really don't know where to go with this one, but all we know is we have lost those 6 drivers. Of course, Raikkonen, Schwartzman, Russell, Schumacher, Latifi and Mazepin. We're going to continue along. No real shocks in Q1. Nearly one for us, but we are through safely to the second part of quali. Let's head there now. Q2 has begun. The 15 minutes have started to tick down. Only used 1 set of softs in Q1, so we've got 2 fresh sets available for us. 1 extra if we get through to Q3. However, I do feel that is going to be maybe a little bit of a push. Ocon heading out onto the track on his softs after a great result in Q1. Like to see him continue that along into Q2, but he heads out on track. We're going to join him on a fresh set of soft tyres for this 15-minute session, and we're going to need quite a few laps if we want to get a good result. Bottas is out there, so we are going to head out too. Well, we are getting ready to start our first lap in the second part of quali. The question is, can we make it through to the third? To be honest with you, I'm not entirely confident with that one, but it'll be interesting. It will be very interesting to see if we can. Now we're going to begin our lap, maybe take it a bit wide on the exit. Certainly do there. Try to just carry as much speed. Is that Ocon? Yes, it is. 1 minute 16.7. I think we'll see some quicker lap times than that during the session. That is not going to be anywhere near the best. 1 minute 15.8. That's a bit better. We had a moment at the first corner there. Not technically the second one, really, isn't it? Bit of a kink on the exit, effectively. That makes it tighter, but that is a little bit frustrating for us. Usually really decent at sector 1. It's going to cost us a little bit this lap, of course, trying to carry it nicely through into the second sector. It's going to be quite a tough session. It's going to be very, very close. The midfield extremely close together this weekend. Also, the Ferraris, despite the gulf in performance in terms of their car, really are up there. Just keep it nice and clean there. Don't want to ride over those bumps too much. Can actually send you out spinning. Hamilton, 1 minute 15.4. Lovely lap there from him. He's looking strong for a bit of a redemption charge towards the end of this season. Wouldn't be surprising. But a 1 minute 15, that's what we're seeing from the best drivers. Don't know if there'll be 1 minute 14s into Q3. Neither do I know if we'll see, but that might be a bit of a push. Over the line we go. P9, no real surprises to be last there, but we're going to go again. And this lap, hopefully, we're not going to end up messing it up at the second corner. We aren't, and there you go, immediate gains on what was a very scruffy lap last time out. It'd be nice if we could be ahead of the likes of Stroll and Ocon by the end of the session. Definitely also Antonio Giovinazzi. Oh, lovely. Purple sector 1. We are going nice. Listening to what Jeff said, thought he'd say something important, but he said if we don't get any higher, we're not going to progress. I'm sort of thinking, yes, it's pretty obvious to me. For P11, don't need to know that. But we are starting to find a bit more pace this lap. Is a bit trading it. 1 minute 15.2. You know, when I was saying about are we going to maybe get 1 minute 14s, I think there might be some in Q3. Verstappen topping the charts. He's looking very strong. A bit of a warning. Went a bit wide. Generally, it's not massive corner cuts, it's just going a bit too wide. That gets you in the naughty books of the FIA when you're round here at Hungary. Can we keep it nice and clean to finish this one? Yes, we can. A much more polished lap. Will we be able to go 9/10 quicker? No, it's going to look like we're lucky if we get 8. 8, and that's P6. Wow. Didn't think we'd have that sort of pace this weekend. We're going to now return to the pits after a couple of laps, but wow. What a start to Q2 here. Is Q3 maybe on? You never know. You never know. Q3 could be on the cards. A little refresh of the order then. We sit P9 currently with the fastest first sector. Certainly do like my first sectors. Second sector-wise, you know, the pace isn't really there. Neither is it there in the final sector, but it's going to be a bit push and go to see if we can get through. We are, of course, going to be going out again on another set of soft tyres. It's going to be interesting whether we can actually manage to improve. Looking down the order, certainly looking quite interesting. We'll have a quick look at it. Perez leading Verstappen. Perez looking strong once again. Our rival looking to take advantage of maybe having that pace advantage this weekend. Verstappen, P2. A little bit further back than his teammate. Maybe starting to struggle a little bit there compared to him. But we know Perez is a really decent driver. You know, he's going to get those consistent results. Still yet to get a win, maybe. The Hungarian Grand Prix, that might be his opportunity. Hamilton, P3, still looking strong, up near the top, looking for redemption. Carlos Sainz, P4, in his Ferrari, the stronger of the two Ferraris, his teammate, way behind 7/10. That is a lot. So really, really great that from Carlos to be splitting the Mercedes. Bottas really struggling. A massive spread of times here. Bottas way off his teammate there, way off the leader Perez, struggling a little bit in his Merc. Bit disappointing start to Q2 for him. Alonso P6 in his Alpine. That's not too bad at all there. Really nice lap from Fernando Alonso. He's in front of both McLaren. So Alonso driving fantastically well, the Spaniard at the moment. He'll be looking to try and stay in the top 10, along with Pierre Gasly, who's just behind. Good performance there from him. Similar for Charles Leclerc. He's nicely up there. Not where he'd want to be, maybe, around his teammate, but he's comfortably in the top 10. That's what matters. Just needs to try and stay there, of course. But it's really trading between him and Carlos. This weekend the gaps are bigger, but they still do flip over between them. So Carlos got a massive gap now. Charles got a massive gap. That keeps flipping, so great to see with that. But Charles will have to certainly improve that lap time. We sit P9, need to go out again. And Lando Norris just on the edge of it. Again, the McLaren struggling, under threat at the moment. They could be going out of the session. P10 and P11 at the moment. Those two not in a great position at all. Norris a 10th behind us there. That's not great for him. Ricciardo is outside the top 10. He could be knocked out in that McLaren. That's not great. He's got a lot of improving to do. Antonio Giovinazzi P12 there. That's a really great drive in that Alfa Romeo, outperforming the car, only just behind faster McLarens. Then it's my teammate Yuki P13, sorry. Bit disappointing to be 4 and a bit tenths off us. Hopefully he can improve. Ocon P14, no real surprise there. Vettel struggling down in P15. He'll want to improve on that, and then Stroll may be suffering from the low focus down in P16. Quick run down the grid, and now, as only about 4 minutes and a half left in the session, we're going to head out for our final run. Hopefully, this will not be our final run in quali. That's my fingers crossed with it. I am wondering how many cars are going to go out on track here. That'll be interesting to see. As long as no one else goes out, we shouldn't get held up. No, we could get held up a little bit on our lap. That's going to be frustrating. We will have another lap after it. Can we sneak out in front of these two? Please, please. No, we're not going to be out in front of Ocon. Ocon is now going to just park his car on the racing line. We're going to have a slide, and this lap is pretty much written off already. That's disappointing. Very, very much disappointing. As long as we don't hook it up, it's just not going to be here. Just not going to be on this lap. Hopefully, we'll be able to go well next lap. That's the other opportunity, isn't it? Next lap, after this one, we can go again. The question is, how much is everyone else going to improve by? How much can we improve by? And the other thing is, hopefully, this isn't going to be our last set of tyres in this quali sessions. Say sessions, because technically there's 3. It will be the last set of tyres in this session, as we are getting a bit messy this lap. Sort of trading it lap time-wise. Going a little bit quicker, then a little bit slower. A little bit quicker, a little bit slower. And at the moment, we're heading into the final sector quite a bit slower, and then we just turn it around by using a bit too much runoff there. But that's okay. The question is, can the McLarens improve? Do believe both Red Bulls, Lewis Hamilton and Carlos Sainz are staying out. They're expecting not too big of an improvement from drivers, as we do improve a little bit. Every little bit will help, but with 2 charging McLarens, we've got to get our head down now. This is the lap. This is the opportunity. This is where we need to improve. We can see both the McLarens in front of us. They're my teammate Yuki. Don't forget the likes of Vettel. He'll be charging up the order. It's going to be very difficult to gain positions on those in front, because Charles Leclerc and Pierre Gasly aren't going to be slacking on this lap. Anyway then, a bit quicker in Sector 1. Really nicely through the start of Sector 2. Can we get the foot on the throttle a bit earlier? Yes, we can. Still pushing, but the question is, how much are the McLarens going to improve? Of course, we need both of them to go ahead of us if we want to be out. We don't want to be out, but both of them need to go ahead of us, and they can't really afford to have one of them out in Q2 in that fight with Ferrari. Of course, we are, though, really, really improving. Don't think I can go much quicker than this at this point. Pretty much on the limit. I could clean the end of the lap up probably a bit. And oh gosh, it's all going all over the place. Stroll can't reach the top 10. Quali is complete, and this is a bit of a messy finish to it here. Is it going to be? Can we get the exit right? No, we can't. And we're already outside the top 10. Will it be? Well, it seems I might have ridden my luck a little bit there. Wow. P10. We are just through. That is... Wow, that is really great. But, wow, that's a bit close. Bit close. 10th and a little bit in it. 1.3 tenths. Back to Daniel Ricciardo. The big story is Daniel Ricciardo is out in his McLaren in Q2. The McLarens are struggling because Norris only managed P8. Looking at the top, though, Perez ahead of Bottas, Verstappen, and then Hamilton. Do believe it was Bottas who went out again and still can't go quicker than a flying Checo. Those guys, though, will compete it out in Q3 for pole. The Ferraris looking great for P5 and 6. Those two very close together. Leclerc went again after a stunner of a lap from Carlos Sainz to start the session. That should pretty much be Red Bulls and Mercedes fight for pole. That should be P1 to 4. Then I wouldn't be surprised if Ferraris get P5 and 6. In terms of who else got through, Alonso looking fantastic there. P7, and a great result in that Alpine head of Lando Norris, who's struggling in the McLaren. Bit better than his teammate, though, and does make it through to Q3. Gasly, P9 in his Alpha Tauri. That's not too bad there. He's through. That's important for him. Just behind the McLaren of Lando Norris. He'll be hoping maybe to fight with Alonso a bit in Q3 for that position. And we just make it through in P10. It's going to be a Q3 appearance at Hungary. Got to love that. Wow. Now, that's certainly what we needed as a team to get through to Q3 here today. Get a good result in quali. Yes, we're taking 5th place grid penalty, but a really decent result in the race could be coming along at the moment with that P10. So really happy to get that P10. We are through to Q3 here at Hungary after exiting in Q1 last season. We have, though, lost Daniel Ricciardo. What a shock. He will start P10 in his McLaren. Really poor result for him. Yuki Tsunoda, my teammate, P12. I was hoping for something a little bit more, but it's not a disaster. He can work from there in the race tomorrow. Then we got Ocon, Stroll, Giovinazzi and Vettel. A bit of a shock there when you look at that order. Ocon doing really well in his Alpine compared to what we've seen him a bit earlier in the season. Slowly improving. P13's decent, despite the fact his teammate is half a second quicker. Lance Stroll, half a second behind his teammate, like Ocon is. But it's an okay result for Stroll. It's okay. P13, I'm sure I'll take that. Then Giovinazzi, a great quality result in that Alfa Romeo. It's a little bit off the pace of the Alpine and the AlphaTauri and the Aston Martin, but gets P15 in the end, the Italian, with a great result. And we'll start there in the race, of course. That's before the grid penalties are applied. Sebastian Vettel then, P16, really disappointing for him. I thought he'd bounce back, maybe get top 13, but not to be. Really disappointing for the German. I wasn't expecting that. Wow, that's disappointing for 7. I know I keep saying disappointing. It's really disappointing, I'm sure, for you guys. Like, you're disappointed that I'm saying disappointing so many times. But I have to say, Seb Vettel has got to be disappointed because that result is really quite disappointing. He should be ahead of Giovinazzi in the Alfa Romeo. He's not. He should be ahead of Stroll, really. He's not. That is pretty poor. But yeah, what a Q2 end there. We just make it through in P10. But your top 4, Perez, Bottas, Verstappen and Hamilton, those guys will fight for pole. 2 Ferraris likely to be together, P5 and 6. And then the best of the rest, Alonso, Norris, Gasly and ourselves fighting it out for the minor placings. Out in Q2, though, Daniel Ricciardo, a big shot there for him and McLaren. They're really struggling this weekend. Ahead of Yuki Tsunoda, Esteban Ocon, Lance Stroll, Antonio Giovinazzi and Seb Vettel with a poor quali result there. Now then, it's time for Q3. Q3 has arrived. We have a little bit of a plan. We're going to be getting out on track very, very quickly in this session. We are going to choose Q1 tyres because those are the least worn. We're going to go out there. We're going to do a lap. We're going to return to the pits, fresh set of tyres on, go out again. We're going to use that fresh set at the end of Q3 on our final laps. But we're going to go out on the used set, join whoever's going to be going out there to start with, and we're going to go out there, get a lap in. Not long in Q1, only 12 minutes, so we need to get going and start putting in a couple of laps. Soft, the targets in terms of what we're trying to do on this first run, it's not a competitive lap, it's just a bit of practice before the real thing. It's just to get us out there potentially, but if we put in something decent, it gives us that opportunity, the safety sort of level there, so that we can really throw everything at it on the final lap in the session on fresher tyres. Can't see myself going anything better than P10 here with used tyres. We only managed P10 in quali. 1 minute 15.7 for Hamilton. That will not be the best. We can go a lot quicker than that. I'd expect to see 1 minute 15.2s definitely from the likes of Perez and Verstappen. Verstappen 1 minute 15.4. A bit better. I still think we can go a little bit better. Come on, Checo, step up to the timings. Is he? No, he isn't. Checo isn't going to do that. Not long in Q3, and of course, don't really have enough time for a refresh in between going out again for some laps. We want to get the most out of that fresh set of softs, so this is just one lap here on the U set. Bottas, 1 minute 15.2. No surprises that Alonso is the slowest of everyone so far, but Bottas, when it counts, putting in the good results. Sainz struggling in P6. Don't know if we've had the McLarens yet. I think we've had one of them. So clearly one of them not struggling too much. Oh wait, that's the only McLaren. That is Lando Norris. Lando Norris putting in a decent result. We are going to probably go slowest. P9 at the moment. Think it's still Charles Leclerc. We'll wait for him to do his lap. Oh, wow. Perez only P6. Disappointing there. He's behind his teammate Hamilton. Norris must be up there Leclerc must be up there, and we're going to return to the quickest of rundowns here. We'll put on a fresh set of softs ready. Bottas is quickest at the moment, 1 minute 15.2. His best lap. He's ahead of Charles Leclerc, absolutely outperforming that Ferrari. Great work from him. He'll be looking to keep that position solid with the final runs. Verstappen, P3. Not too bad for him, ahead of Lewis Hamilton. He'll be happy with P4. Been a bit of a rocky season so far, no outstanding results really. He'll be looking for something good, maybe try and improve on that a little bit. But Lando Norris, despite Ferrari struggling, Carlos Sainz at Ferrari struggling, despite McLaren struggling a lot at Hungary so far, he is looking pretty decent in P5, looking to stay there ahead of a Checo Perez, who's really struggling. 1 minute 15.891 his best lap. That's disappointing from Checo. He needs to improve a lot more if he wants to capitalise on ourselves not being as strong this weekend. Then Carlos Sainz struggling down in P7 compared to his teammate. Gasly P8, no surprise there, ahead of Alonso, and ourselves P10. Not long left in this one, so we're going to get that fresh set of softs out on track for a few laps. Is, of course, the final laps. In qualifying, we are out ahead of everyone else, so we should be able to fit in, hopefully, 2 flyers. That's the plan. Sorry, what's wrong with the engine? The gearbox is at 60%. We will replace that pretty soon. We don't need to replace it this weekend. That'll be fine for a little longer. Away we go on the fresh set of softs. Got to love them. A lovely shining set of soft tyre compounds. Let's try and keep this lap clean. Not too bad of a start. Be nice if we could go quicker in the first sector. Loving the first sector around here, of course, as always. So nice if we could get it really nice and clean. Yes, we do. Look at that. What a start to the lap. Purple sector 1. Getting a bit used to that now. We might be struggling in other sectors, but we're getting it purple in the first one. Let's carry it through into what can be quite a treacherous chicane if you get it a bit wrong, especially with that exit curb. Can be a little bit vicious. Anyway, heading through the S's section, and the pace, it's starting to flow, and I'm starting to really enjoy the Hungaro ring here. We're starting to find a bit more pace, and we are going to be going a whole load quicker. What was, in my opinion, going to be quite a dismal quali session is starting to become something else. We go a little bit too deep there. That could cost us a 10, but wow, we are really finding pace where we didn't have it earlier. And now we're going to run a little bit wide on the exit. That's going to compromise the start of this lap, but look at that. P4. Wow, I didn't think I could do that round here, to be honest with you. I really, really didn't think we could do that round here, but we've gone and done it. And we're going to run a little bit wide at the first corner. Let's see what we can do again. I really think that's my limit at the moment. And now we're just going to start to fluff it up a little bit. Yeah, not really to be at this point. Oh, God, don't want to go wide there. Sainz, P5, only manages that. Leclerc dropped down to P3. Hamilton, quickest. Wow, look at that from him. Will Checo be able to respond? That's the question. We're P5. Perez only P5. Quali is over. We'll return to the pits, but P6 for us. Wow, I am really happy with that. Perez, our rival, only 1 position in front. What a Q3 session there. Wow. We are P6 and a track I really didn't think we have any pace at, you know. Still got the race to come. That is in wet conditions, so it's going to be quite a difficult one. And I am actually running a dry setup, so yeah, that's going to be fun. We are P6 though. I can't quite believe that. 1 minute 15, 5.99. Reluctant to go to the 1 minute 16s there. But look at who's on pole. Lewis Hamilton with a great lap there. Never count him out. He has had a pretty okay season so far. But again, down in P4 in the Drivers' Championship. I think that's where he was last season around about this stage. That is a really lovely lap. A 1 minute 14.8. I thought we'd get into the 1 minute 14s, and Lewis is the man to go and do it. Really fantastic there from him. Comfortably ahead of teammate Valtteri Bottas. Wow, Bottas 4 tenths behind. Mercedes 1-2 though. That is pivotal for them to be able to catch Red Bull in terms of the Constructors' Championship. Verstappen P3 in his Red Bull. I don't know, really, whether that's a good result for him or a bad result for him, but the Red Bull's struggling compared to the Mercs this season. into the second half of it. That's what I'm sort of saying. Because P3 and P5 is really got to be disappointing for them. Verstappen just off Bottas, which is pivotal for him. He needs to be able to fight him in the race for the championship. But Perez down in P5, our rival, with a disappointing lap. He's way off his teammate, 3/10 off his teammate. He's 7 and nearly a half off Hamilton. That is a really disappointing result for our rival, Checo Perez there. Only one position in front of us, and by literally nothing. 4 thousandths in it. That's what you call two title rivals. But you can't count out Charles Leclerc in his Ferrari. He went well round here last season. Do believe he got a P3 in the race, and that's continuing today, of course, with quali. P4. Fantastic drive in that Ferrari. We know the Ferrari's a long way behind the Red Bulls and the Mercs in the R&D, but he's outperforming that. He's only a couple of tenths off Valtteri Bottas, who sits P2, and he's ahead of Checo Perez. Fantastic drive from Charles Leclerc. His teammate Carlos Sainz will be pretty happy with P7. Not too fantastic, but still a solid result for him. He can get some good points from there. Lando Norris will be fairly happy to take P8. McLaren, we know, are struggling, so that is not a disastrous result here at the Hungaroring. His teammate starts P11 before the grid penalties were added for everyone. So Lando P8, that's not too bad. It really isn't. And I say it's not too bad because he's ahead of Gasly and Alonso, and those two stuck together like glue. Rather interestingly, 4 thousandths between those two, 4 thousandths between myself and Checo. But Gasly and Alonso fighting it right down to the flag in qualifying. P9 for Gasly, P10 for Alonso. But again, great to see Alonso driving fantastically in that Alpine, and Gasly going well in his AlphaTauri. Those guys, though, a little bit off Lando Norris, who was the sort of best of the midfield fighters. But I have to say, what a quali session that was. Wow. Just about got the blood pressure back to normal, but that was a really nice lap for me. Hooked it together, taken P6 in Q3. We are taking a 5-place grid penalty. However, like last season, I expect there might be a few more grid penalties, so I wouldn't be surprised if that did happen. It could elevate us a bit higher, or we could end up dropping down a bit. You don't know. But P6 in quali, we've got to be really happy with that. In terms of looking at in terms of teams, the Mercedes looking really strong. The Red Bulls looking a bit weaker in that. The Ferraris looking a lot stronger than the McLarens. And then Alonso doing fantastically well with Gasly there in Q3. Some big shocks, yes. Daniel Ricciardo out in Q2. Perez down in P5. Leclerc outperforming his Ferrari up in P4. Ourselves in P6. That's the biggest shock of all. But wow. What a quali session. I keep saying that, but it really has been a fantastic one. Wasn't expecting it to turn out like that. Of course, for the championship, pretty pivotal, with ourselves being just behind Checo, who's struggled. Verstappen, Bottas, Hamilton up there. Hamilton looking to try and fight back into the championship. Bottas and Verstappen very close in the championship. Those two side by side there. Leclerc outperforming his Ferrari. Plenty of action all down the field, but Q3 ends with Hamilton ahead of Bottas, Verstappen, Leclerc, Perez, ourselves, Sainz, Norris, Gasly, and Alonso rounds out the top 10. It will be a wet race. That will spice things up. Probably will be grid penalties. It will be very exciting and dramatic. We'll have to wait and see for that one. But we are, of course, P6 in Q3 at Hungary. If you guys have enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. But that is it, and I'll catch you all sometime soon.